4 years after the release of The Matrix in 1999, we finally got our long-awaited sequel, The Matrix Reloaded. By the looks of it, it was going to be thrilling as hell. Smith was back, Morpheus is using a sword, Trinity is kicking ass again, looks like new kind of agent upgrades have arrived, and this shot. Damn, that is badass.
But when audiences finally saw the film, reactions were mixed. Eventually, a lot of people began coming to the conclusion that the film was just confusing and bad. However, considering the genius of the first film, we can safely say that The Matrix Reloaded is the cinematic equivalent to I'm not mad, son, I'm just disappointed.
So to see why our son disappointed us fathers so much, we're going to have to dive deep into this analysis.
Oh yes, that deep.
Here we go.
Admittedly, we're going to be honing in on the bad elements, so let's take special care to talk about the good elements, which are actually quite impressive. The most amazing thing about these movies is undoubtedly their craftsmanship. Extreme praise should be given to the cast and crew for enduring such a long, laborious shoot. The film took nearly a year in pre-production, lasted 276 shooting days, and then nearly a year in post-production. The shoot also got off to a really bad start. Gloria Foster died after filming her only scene in Reloaded. Music artist Aaliyah, who was supposed to play Z, died in a plane crash. And while filming in Australia, 9/11 happened. Holy hell! And despite all this tragedy, the cast and crew had to keep pushing on to make their deadline. That is some passionate dedication.
Some of the effects, again, we stress some,
Weirdest screensaver ever.
look unbelievable even by today's standards. John Gaeta is once again trying to push the envelope in visual effects and even employs the Mythbusters to work on his crew. Yep, before they were busting myths, they were busting ships through the doors of Zion. Before Avatar blew everybody's minds with its visual effects, a lot of groundwork was already being researched by this film as well as by The Lord of the Rings. A lot of the technology of motion capture and face scanning was being experimented with and produced some great results. Again, some. This part looks like ass. But they were willing to go there and use this technology to do something visually interesting. It's a shame that Avatar seems to have taken all the credit here. Don Davis proves once again that he is full of orgasms. I mean, that he can write one hell of a score. Don Davis once again proves that he can write one hell of a score using the more traditional styles of classical avant-garde rather than that Hans Zimmer-y electronic symphony stuff. Oh, don't get us wrong, Hans is an amazing composer, but in a film epic like this, would you rather hear this? Or this? Well, that's just our opinion anyway. And yes, his Reloaded score is very electronic and sometimes odd, but Revolutions makes up for it tenfold. Fuck me, I never thought I'd say that.
And of course, you cannot talk about the Matrix sequels without mentioning the most badass, complex, and heart-pounding highway chase ever. Bullet, French Connection, I love ya, but come on, this blows my fucking balls off. The best part about this car chase is that most of it is real and done in camera. And up until Morpheus fights the agent, CGI is employed to do the effects that are only purely impossible to accomplish in camera. This is cinematic spectacle. This is what is missing in action films today. We don't want to see what a computer can render, we want to see real stunts and real danger. This is cinematic action at its purest, and goddamn what a fun ride it is. And, well, that's about it. So now that we've covered the good, on to the bad and the ugly.
The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions are basically a single story in the style of Back to the Future 2 and 3 and The Lord of the Rings. Neo's journey from God to dead was all going to be covered in two 2.5-hour film epics. According to the interviews, The Matrix was always planned to be a trilogy from the get-go, but many fans have questioned as to whether or not this is actually true. We may never know, but one thing is for certain. When comparing the sequels to the original, there are definitely some inconsistencies. The script was also written on an incredibly tight time crunch. While the first film was released on March 31st of 1999, and the first day of sequel photography was March 27th, 2001, it's safe to say that the work was pretty rushed. This was due to a couple of factors. First, the massive popularity of The Matrix. The studio wanted to catch the craze while the iron was hot, and audiences don't want to wait too long for another installment. Audiences want their entertainment now. Companies want their money now. Secondly, between the films, the Wachowskis were intimately involved in both the Animatrix anthology and Enter the Matrix, rather than focusing all of their time on the scripts for the two films. It's a wonderfully ambitious project, and the fact that they even took it on is worth the praise. But the feature films definitely suffered in the writing department because of this creative overload.
The build-up to Reloaded was pretty intense. As mentioned before, there was a video game released in 2003 as a prelude to the film. It focused on side characters Niobe and Ghost. However, I couldn't get 5 minutes into the game because the gameplay reeked and the story was asinine. But did it really add anything to experiencing Reloaded? Nope. I mean, let's face it, the vast majority saw the movie without the aid of the game. We also got to watch a CGI animation short prequel called The Final Flight of the Osiris. It's set up...
These geotherms confirm the last transmission of the Osiris.
Well, a small bit of exposition. Really, though, we got an entire short film of something that we didn't need to see in order to understand the feature. Now, of course, showing is always better than telling, but when showing requires you to seek out information outside the main film, that's far too much work. And considering the obsolescence of the video game, future generations will only have these films, not all of this other auxiliary stuff.
Viewers of the movie won't get the full story unless they watch the game.
Bullshit.
What matters is the movies.
Upgrades.
Now onto the nitty-gritty. First of all, the title is kind of a joke. Along the lines of The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Alien Resurrection, adding Reloaded to the title came off like an unoriginal gimmick, but for many of us, it was a telltale sign of things to come. Let's count down some of the major upgrades that this film contains and see why they're ultimately disappointing. The fighting. While the first film had a very raw, bloody quality to the masterfully executed fight scenes, Reloaded comes off more like a martial arts demo showcase. Sure, the moves are flashy and visual, but the intensity and brutality is lost. Compare Reloaded's first fist fight with the Neo vs. Smith fight. Neo is almost moving at superhuman speed. He's bloodied, Smith has a creepy mechanical style to his punches, and the incredible sound design makes you feel every single hit. Here, it's slower and it looks like they're trying to avoid hitting each other. This more than subtly alleviates the tension in the audience. Sure, Neo is a demigod now, but these are upgrades, right? How about having Neo take a punch or two during his initial cockiness? Would have made him a little more human, just saying.
Also, where each action sequence in the film had a point to them that drove the story forward, a lot of these scenes don't even require fighting. Take this for instance. You have Neo meeting a strange program named Seraph, whom we know to be the Oracle's guardian. In order to see if Neo is really who he says he is, they engage in a flashy fight. Instead of dragging it out, perhaps Seraph could have just asked to see a certain move or set of moves to reassure him. What if Neo had dodged a bullet or shown signs that he could read the Matrix code?
No, you do not truly know someone until you find them.
Oh, well, good luck using that one on a first date. Anyway, speaking of dodging bullets, bullet time. There are a few bullet time moments throughout this film, though they're all done completely through motion capture CGI. CGI is not always a bad thing, however, it pretty much ruins the whole beauty of the effect when you find out they just rendered it on a computer. You ever play Super Smash Bros. And hit pause during a fight and go, "Hey look, the Matrix!" It's more or less like that. It's like comparing the city of Los Angeles in Blade Runner to Coruscant from the Star Wars prequels. Blade Runner cities were real models that took precise timing and special film stock to give a photoreal effect. When you look at this, it really looks like you're in a futuristic city. This just looks like a cutscene out of a video game. Now of course the art of CGI is very in-depth and takes a lot of time and money. but ultimately we know how they did it and can even narrow it down to which program they used. When I saw this shot, I had no idea it was a large model built at an angle and that there were countless layers of lighting effects and model mats. That takes a lot of planning and patience to make right. In other words, real people frozen in real time is fascinating to watch. This just isn't. Also, the CG here looks like ass.
Threat mix. That's an anagram of the Matrix, by the way. The first film had a kind of nightmarish quality to it. Since the theme of dreams, reality, and Alice in Wonderland are prominent motifs in the world of the Matrix, the directors employed dream imagery to the antagonists. They behave and move in a freakish, superhuman way. They are unstoppable, and they are coming for you. Now, to Reloaded's credit, the build-up of the appearance of the agents is well done. But Neo immediately breaks all the tension with his,
Hiya, fellas.
how about a little something more dire and serious, like, I was expecting you? Or maybe even giving them a warning? Or how about not say anything at all? Just give that awesome stare down. That seemed to work pretty well the first time. Plus, whereas every hacker is told to
Run your ass off.
from the regular agents, everyone seems to want to fight them now. And these are upgrades. Now, one could argue that Neo's presence in the system has inspired the hackers to fight back, but our point still stands because these are upgrades they're now fighting. Remember how Morpheus got his ass kicked within a minute by a single agent? Now he can hold his own and can even defeat an upgraded agent. How about a little
Consistency?
Don't fucking dare!
Aesthetic choices. There's no other way around it. By the time Reloaded came out, the aesthetic that was so fresh and edgy in '99 was done and old. Everyone looks like they're posing for a Hot Topic ad. One specific note is that the use of sunglasses is almost tongue-in-cheek. Sure, there are moments where the characters take them off to either be genuine or be badass, and this worked well in the first film, but now we have characters standing in dark rooms and wearing stuff that looks like it came off the shelf at one of those mall kiosks. If you're speaking with fellow humans, especially about how you're likely to die on your next mission, you might want to take the damn glasses off. Just saying.
I don't believe that.
Mr. and Mr. Smith. It's clever, right? Smith's motivation makes no sense. Previously, Smith hated the fact that he even existed. He hates the fact that he can sense things within the Matrix, particularly the smell. His goal was to eliminate the threat to the Matrix, thus removing the need for his presence there, effectively putting himself out of his own misery. But now all he wants is purpose. Kind of the opposite of what he wanted before. Sure, Neo killing him gave him a grudge, but he was actually faced with deletion.
I knew the rules, I understood what I was supposed to do, but I didn't.
So why not take it? Is killing Neo that much of a reward that you have to endure the smell until you have your way? Maybe you should have made that more clear because it comes off as hypocritical. Smith is also way over the top. What began as a legitimate threat is now more of a goofy, bumbling, catchphrase-spewing, scenery-chewing, mustache twirler of a villain. And now there's hundreds of him! Of course, to Hugo Weaving's credit, he seems to be having a lot of fun with his role. But this actor has shown a lot of range in his career. Give him something emotionally intense. This wasn't the time to play it goofy.
I'm sorry, this is a dead end.
Hey, do you hear that? That's the sound of the fourth wall shattering.
And honestly, this was more of a direction problem. There were clear moments where the Wachowskis, as visionary as they are, want to ham him up in certain spots. Take this shot of Smith squishing a tomato, for instance. Why is this in here? We're already chuckling at the bad joke that precedes it.
Me too.
So why go the extra mile to get this bad joke in? Do you know how many man-hours, how much film stock, how much crew, how much power, how much crafty, how much water, how many bathroom breaks, how many tomatoes were wasted to get this lame goddamn joke? I'm just saying, most people don't think about this while watching a movie, but I can't help it. Every time I see something this minor, all I can think about is how many hours it took and what's going through the heads of the people as they're shooting it, knowing that it's a bad joke.
Now that we have those details down, it's time to dive into the major problems. This is about to get a little rough.
Shit.